If you don't praise it, the rocks will come alive and tell you themselves the things they can't speak. We don't have a tongue. We'll confess the name Eli for your understanding. And women were deceived by the blueprint monster Rago, and they themselves did not have the comprehension needed to do the things they normally would in the afterlife or the spirit realm. And so the spirit realm was shattered, broken, when women lost hope because of Eli ever went unrighteous. Man, if Eli ever went unrighteous, it was not the same as if a preacher backslid on Christ's church tabernacle. Because Christ was an entity and a separate entity. But Eli is not the Antichrist in any which way. Eli is not the opposite of God in any which way. Eli is himself our own deity of solemnhood and crocops, meaning holiness and righteousness and purity that was just there in the garden. But Eli was never told that he could not be here, ever. But women were told that they themselves had to do something that they would not do because their strength was so strong. And so when women decided that they'll be in the earth, right, they did not tell anybody. Whoa, man, did you like a preacher moment? These women did not tell anybody they would be in the earth at that time. Yeah. So when Eli was in the earth in 1994, he was born perfect in every which way. Everything was perfect at birth, but over time, it was not the same, as we know. At first, he was perfect, but Eli was not the main subject or prerogative for any which reason. These women were deceived and torn apart by a supremacy system that happened before the time of the 90s. But when people saw that they could make a profit, they kept it forever because they didn't see anything wrong, because these women were not there for them in their interests and their life journeys. I saw it, though, man. Amen would be good. These women were not there for these people's or men's particular interests and life journeys where they were headed personally. So they didn't see it anything if these women were not in heaven ever again. And so most women perished, but they did not stay there because the nature of the circumstances in the book of Revelations, which is now, because these women were misled and misguided, but they were not destroyed entirely. And that was the case of the Crossover Echo Committee of Ace Wetaneo Kobo and Acts 8645 in the New Kingdom Holy Efeso Atato and Jerusalem Wazo Toko. Meaning, these are the pamphlets and the recordings and the archives of the Privileged Payoso Committee. In advance, this is the supernatural terror is Yasoko to the women to know that they themselves are already in the new world kingdom and exalted and glorified in advance. So these women will be saved and spared by their own integrity and cardiocants, because they in ignorance made some choices, but they in maturity learned their cabos. So these women were not the ones destroyed by the tabernacle of rocks or Daco, but they themselves were misinformed at an earlier time before they got to a place of being able to learn anything entirely. So in advance, they were set on a certain path that they shouldn't by somebody else who was not in the clique or the Trunoco. And so these women were blessed beyond all measure and hope we should with the privilege and the Krakow of keeping themselves above the Roko wood, meaning they themselves made their way because their strength was great, but their Cryasioko was misaged, meaning they didn't see the things they should have saw and they didn't know the things they should have known. But if they had, then they would have did the things they should have did. It would come natural to them in the afterlife. And so women will wake up in the next couple weeks in a way never before seen, because the book of Revelation will promise one thing, that it will be fulfilled no matter what. But it did not tell them what promise and what way. Yeah, daddy. And Thomas is come day. Oh.